think if you speak to a person as a human being, from human being to human being, heart to heart, they do respond to that positively most of the time. You'll find a very, very small minority of people who just don't want to listen. Usually people do listen, and if you continuously behave well towards people, even who are abusing you and who are mistreating you, you reply to that, respond to that with kindness and love, they eventually, the evil in them breaks. And very quickly, actually. And
any sort of personal experience that you could share with us of when this has actually happened and how you've maybe dealt with that hostility?
Well, I've spoken to many people who've been, especially like the brother said, usually the fiercest opposition will come from other Muslims, which might be strange to some of the non-Muslims watching us today. But because of the religious differences in beliefs, etc. And I've always reminded them of the teaching of the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and reminded them that, do you really follow the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ because he did not teach this? Are you telling us that the Prophet ﷺ said that you have to abuse others and you have to be violent towards others? Is that how you're trying to win people over to Islam? When it's been other people who are not Muslims who've been abusive to me, then I try to attract their attention to their religious teachings. One cannot be a good Christian and abuse others and be violent to others. You can't do that. And you can't be a good Hindu either. So I think that the ones who are probably the most difficult to convince in that case would be the atheists. Because then you have to fall back on the core values of human beings and say that, are the results of what you're doing now going to be positive in the long run? Try to think about it. And I always tell them that I love you. I have sincere love for you in my heart. Whatever you say and whatever you do, I'll still love you. And that usually, because it's sincere, I really do. That breaks something inside them, and then they change and they apologize, and it makes them become better in the way they deal with me.
Islamophobia, are there any personal experiences you'd like to share with us today?
Well, no one has come up to my home and tried to burn it down. No one has targeted me with assassination attempts. No one has dumped anything on me as I walk in the streets of America trying to preach my message. I haven't reached that level where they react to me like they reacted to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, in other words. And he is the example for us. I mean, look how he dealt with hostility and on the greatest scale. And he was able to turn those people who were his inverted enemies, who wanted his blood, into his most bosom friends, who were his closest companions, who didn't want to see him step on a thorn to even prick his foot on something. And this is what I faced on a very minor, small scale, which I am so humbled even to think I can share some experience compared to that, or that even relates to that will make you feel, wow, that's shocking. Unlike it's happening in Pakistan or in Bangladesh or other places, Malaysia, where my missionary friend I met this year in UK Jalsa, he told me about, he went to a meeting where he was about to give a lecture. And as he was delivering a lecture, the people outside were waiting at the door. As soon as he stepped out, they grabbed him and rushed him to the police station and threw him in jail. And that has not happened to me. But what has happened is, as Jahangir Khan has said, is when I face the American public, I always face the music, so to speak. They come in with the attitude is that, you people, no matter what you say, are negative. You're violent, you're terrorist bent, you hate America, you don't like our values, you don't want to live in our country, and you want to destroy us. And I have to begin from that premise when I preach to them. And invariably what I find is you link your positive values to their values, and they begin to see the similarity, and their eyes open up.
Finally, we're just going to be wrapping up for today. Are there any questions or any final points from the audience that we can raise to the panel here? Here, we've got a question.
Just a question coming back to hijab. I'm not sure, but isn't this a Christianity belief as well, that women should cover up? Because, you have the nuns who cover up themselves. So I just wanted to ask.
That's a very good question. How would the panel like to respond to that?
It's a belief which you find in all religions, really, in one form or another. Whether it's in Hinduism or in Judaism, Christianity, there is this teaching to cover one's bodies, in particular for the ladies. And if some religions have now discarded that, they perhaps wish that we should too. But we want to preserve the values that they have lost, or they are fast losing at least. So that is correct. It is a common teaching.
Okay, lovely. Any other panelists would you like to add to that, Azhar Nisab?
No, as he has said, you ask a Christian, what is the image of Mother Mary that you've ever seen? Is she hijabi or non-hijabi, you know? Ask a Christian, you know, ask a Jew, what are the images of the Jewish Orthodox women that is mentioned and that they themselves respect? Hijabi or non-hijabi? So the issue didn't begin with Islam. But as he said, we have upheld the value that they too respected in this society, the West, for a long time. Men wore hats, women wore coverings, you know, they wore long garments. Thank God it's winter because they look hijabi, all look hijabi now. You can't tell who's who.
Okay, that answered your question. Any other points? Yeah, we've got one last point here as well, yeah.
I'm just thinking, a very long time ago, women didn't have the right to vote, and they also had a lot of restrictions as well. It's only in the recent past that they've been given a lot of freedom. As you were saying, many people think that Muslim women are being restricted in many ways, but in fact, isn't it Islam that's given women the freedom to, well, they were responsible for allowing them the right to vote.
Yeah. Isn't it Islam that's actually protected women's rights and actually stood up for them? Yeah. How would the panel like to respond to that?
Double-edged sword. You know, double-edged, because in the same breath, the women in the Muslim countries will say, well, we don't have the right to vote now. We don't have the right to have a driving license to drive in the streets without some male driving us along or accompanying us. We don't have the right to own our business. We don't have the right to inherit property. We don't have the right to educate ourselves equally with the men. If even women's college, they are even destroying those. So the double-edged sword is they're going to point to you as a Muslim and say, well, show us in your Muslim world where this is happening right now. If this is truly the revolution brought by your prophet, 15 centuries ago. And that's why we are, again, faced with the struggle of admitting the rights have been given, but the rulers have failed to uphold the rights even in Islam.
Okay. All right, we're going to be wrapping up. Jahangir Sahab, how would you like to leave the discussion today? We've talked about Islamophobia, we talked about moral decline society in general. What would be your final comments?
Well, my final comment would be that we should really turn to the promised Messiah and learn true morals coupled with spirituality from him, to portray ourselves as real people, really moral and spiritual people to society, and also to love society sincerely with the love that the Holy Prophet Muhammad used to show to everybody, not only to the Muslims but to everyone, and even to animals and to other creatures as well. If we do that, then maybe we'll be doing our bit and we can change the society just that little bit more and turn the tide a little bit against all the immorality which is coming against us.
Okay. Dr. Saab, what would be your final comments for today?
I'll just echo Jahangir Saab's comments and just add a little that we're taught to vie with each other in good works, and good basic morals are probably one basic commonality amongst us that we can use to actually improve society and thereby improve the image of Islam at the same time.
Okay, exactly. And Azhar Nisab, how would you like to wrap up the discussion today?
Well, I think I would say man is a social creature, and he's a wonderful imitator. So if we can become the imam of righteousness, as Quran tells us to pray, they will ultimately follow us. We will be the shepherds, we will not be the sheep in a society like this, falling prey to them. They will follow our lead, inshallah, and this should be the goal of every single Ahmadi, to say this prayer, وَاجْعَلْنَا إِمَامًا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, make us the imams of the righteous people through our moral character, our spiritual nature. Inshallah, then we'll make a change.
Okay, Jazakallah to everyone here for your scholarly input to the discussion. So you've heard how we discussed the topic today, but what do you feel at home as well? Don't forget, you can always email us in with your views. The address is realtalk@mta.tv. The website address is mta.tv/realtalk. And also there's a Twitter page as well. The address should be there at the bottom of the screen. So that's what we've discussed here today. I hope you can join us next time again for another episode of Real Talk. But until then, Assalamu alaikum.